Good evening and welcome to the July 17th, 2017 meeting of the Coeur d'Alene Parks and Recreation Commission. Melissa, let's start the meeting with the roll call.
Commissioner Cranston,
Here.
Commissioner McDowell,
Here.
Commissioner Lean,
Here.
Commissioner Tate,
Here.
Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Wood,
Here.
Commissioner Edinger, Commissioner Foster.
Thank you, Melissa. Jim, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just like to remind anybody that would wish to have any public comments to any of the agenda items tonight to be sure you sign up on the sign-up sheet. We'll be reading you an order of the sign-in sheet for coming up and giving your comments to the commission. Do any of the commissioners tonight have a conflict of interest within the agenda items tonight?
None here.
There are none. Okay, approval of meeting minutes. June 19th, 2017. Does anybody have any comments, corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Wood made the motion to approve the June 19th minutes, seconded by Commissioner McDowell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? June meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, Bill, brings us to the staff report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on our recreation side, this year we've expanded our Skyhawks program. We've gone out, we're reaching hundreds of kids now. They typically range between 3 and 12 years old. Our camps now include soccer, basketball, softball, football, baseball, lacrosse, and pickleball. Pickleball's new for them, and so is lacrosse. And so we're using fields all over town for this program. Our youth baseball and softball program is halfway through the season, roughly 40 teams and about 400 participants so far. Our Strider program, this is a new one for us. Adam Rouse put this together. A Strider bicycle is a little bicycle for little fellas and gals that doesn't have any pedals, and it gives them an opportunity to learn how to ride a bike by just kind of balancing, and they kind of tootle along using their feet. And so that's been an ongoing program this week. He's been working on that. And we're going to try at some point in the future have, kind of like a race or something with these little guys. But it's brand spanking new, and we just introduced it this year. Youth tennis, we've had the first session had 70 kids in it, and the second session is very close to those registrations. So that's taking place. Youth golf, we had about 20 kids participate in youth golf program. And indoor swim lessons, next registration starts July 24th. And then softball tournaments, we've had almost every weekend booked, and we still have 5 more scheduled for the remainder of the summer. So the recreation side is busting it. Then I've got some stuff I'll show you here. Last time we were together, we talked about some improvements to the cemetery, and I've got a couple of pictures I'd like to show you.
Okay.
So some years back, let me get on this one first. So this is our newest niche wall. We were talking about this before. This is just outside of A in the back end on the easterly side. We just completed this a few months ago. This is probably the wave of the future. My predecessor talked about this a bunch as far as niches. So we use perpetual care money to get this installed, and it'll pay itself back like more than tenfold almost. There's 100 niches in here. When we opened it up, There were, I think, the week we opened it up, we had people in the wings, we've sold 10 or so, and it's only been, you know, completed now for about a month and a half or two. This was the GAR statue. Some years back, it had gone into some disrepair, and we'd found a guy that could put on a, kind of like a stucco type material. We used it right out here on the steps, the big steps at the library here. It adheres well to concrete, and it doesn't adhere so well to wood. And what they did is, because this concrete was so bad, a wood frame was built around this, and we shot that with this material. We had a contractor do the work. And it lasted for a while, but because the wood got moisture in it, the stucco, so to speak, began to peel off and degrade, and it looked really, really poor. So we talked to a contractor. Our crew dismantled all of that, and we got it cleaned up. And this is the process. Some of the areas that were like this, we had to fill, as you can see here. This is Jeff Stoddard, who did the work for us, and after it was done, that's what it looked like. And so those, again, were monies that we just had in our maintenance fund for the cemetery to take care of that.
Great.
Any questions about it?
Beautiful. Anything for Bill?
Very nice workmanship.
It is.
Yeah, no, he did a nice job. Jeff actually worked with us on the swinging bench as well. He's a mason by trade, so he did the foundation work, but he can also do construction work, and he is the one that assembled our swinging bench up here on the hill. And we have another one of those that are coming forward, hopefully before the summer closes, that'll be placed kind of near our old offices were, kind of down there near Fifth Street. But we've got a donor who's working with us on that, and the fabricator's working on it as we speak, and hopefully we'll get in before the close of summer.
Will be very popular.
Yep, thank you.
Do any of the commissioners tonight have any comments or announcements at this time? Okay. Does anybody in our audience wish to have any public comments to the commission that aren't here for an agenda item? Okay. And this isn't pertaining to one of the agenda items tonight?
It is not.
Okay. If you would, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
All right, my name is Jacob Adams. I'm a resident of Coeur d'Alene at 101 East Bora Avenue. Okay, so can you guys hear me okay? Last Friday, July 14th, at about 1 p.m., I received a phone call from Bill Greenwood while I was down at Independence Point with my family. Mr. Greenwood made the accusation that I was running my business out of the parking lot at Independence Point, and I asked him why he thought so. He informed me that a Parks employee called him and reported that I was parked in the parking lot and had my business information displayed on my vehicle. So, excuse me. I found it disturbing that I had to explain to Mr. Greenwood that having company information displayed on a vehicle parked on public property is completely legal and is not solicitation or conducting business. I also find it disturbing that I was harassed for parking in a public space built with my tax dollars, and one that I happened to also pay for that day. I informed Mr. Greenwood that even if I were delivering rented or purchased equipment or goods to a public park or street, that is not considered conducting business. It is a complimentary service, it is legal, and I've never seen a law that says otherwise. Mr. Greenwood disagreed and stated that there is a code specifically against delivering kayaks and paddleboards to public property, but he couldn't state the name, number of the code, or any information about it. After this call, I received a voicemail from code enforcement, but they did not inform me of any code or that what I was doing was anything illegal. Mr. Greenwood, you called me up to harass me for simply being parked in a public space. After I suggested that you get your facts straight before calling people making accusations, you yelled at me over the phone, you had better watch your mouth with me, which I don't appreciate. Now I need to ask this committee, is this the type of conduct that you support? Making unsubstantiated accusations against citizens, personally calling them and literally yelling at them based on an incorrect report from a parks employee. Mr. Greenwood, your phone call to me on Friday was harassment. All that you stated was your own opinion, and when I asked what law you are referring to, you had no answer. During that phone call, you also informed me that you have a guy down at Independence Point that pays us a lot of money to do business down there.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Christie?
I would just, what was your name again?
Jacob Adams.
Jacob, I appreciate your testimony, but it really is more of a personnel complaint, which
Sure.
we don't normally do those in public. And Mr. Chair, with your permission, I would refer Jacob to Mr. Greenwood's direct supervisor, which isn't us.
This isn't all about Mr. Greenwood, though. If you guys would give me just maybe one more minute to finish, I can kind of get to the point here. I'm almost done. And the main issue that I'm getting to, that has to do with the conversation between me and Mr. Greenwood, not necessarily him calling me and harassing me. So it has to do with what I mentioned about the delivering of watercraft. So,
If you, pardon me, could you state the name of your business for us?
Summer Snow Outfitters, LLC. So what I really have to say is that an attempt to regulate the delivery of specific type of non-motorized watercraft to a public park, beach, or especially a city street is an unreasonable restraint of commerce. Normally, that term unreasonable restraint of commerce is used when the government is colluding with a private business to create a monopoly. All this harassment and the attempts to enforce non-existent laws looks bad for the city and for the Parks Department, in my opinion. Until I see a law from an actual authority figure which specifically states that it is illegal to deliver non-motorized watercraft to public property, then I will continue to do so. I have a private physical business location. I do not exchange money or run business operations on a public park or beach. Everything I'm doing is perfectly legal. I'd like to request that the Parks Department I would like to request that the Parks Department not contact me or my business unless there's a legitimate reason.
Jacob, just to clarify then, the purpose of your visit that day to Independence Point was to deliver non-motorized watercraft to a customer that had rented that equipment from your private business?
Incorrect.
Okay.
I was actually
Just-
there with some family, which I had stated.
Okay. Okay.
And I believe I have the right to park there and pay for my parking spot, whether or not I have business information displayed on my vehicle. And
Okay.
if there's more on the delivery of rented equipment to public sites like Independence Point or a public street, and I would be very obliged to be a part of that conversation. And that's all I have.
Go ahead,
tonight.
Mike.
Jake, I guess I would want to make sure I understand your question. So you provided a lot of background, but are you saying that you, as a course of your business, doing business monetarily at a different location,
Yes,
that you believe it's legal for you to come in, pay for a parking space to park there, and in the course of doing that, deliver non-motorized watercraft to a location close to there?
I would say, I feel like if I'm not exchanging money, actually running my business operations on city property, then I feel like the public deserves the opportunity to have non-motorized watercraft delivered to them at a certain price point, if that's what they choose to do and go with me.
So that's basically what you're characterizing. The reason I asked the question is that would be the type of question I think could be forwarded to our legal folks to see what they interpret as being a part of a business practice. And we'd have to follow direction that we would get back from our legal counsel.
Sure, and I feel like this is something that's been talked about for quite a while, and until I see something that says I'm doing something wrong, then, you know,
That
as
would
soon
be
as
the
I do,
reason to bring the attorneys in.
I'll cease and desist what I'm doing anytime anyone tells me I don't have a legal right to do so.
Fair enough.
That's all I'm saying.
Bill, is there someone with legal staff that could help with that information, what is legal and what
Well,
isn't, as
absolutely.
far as use of,
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
public park space?
You bet.
Like-
And when I was on the phone with Jacob, the reason I asked him to quit talking to me like that was because he said he already spoke to the legal department. And I said, I'll get off the phone and call them right now. I did so, and in fact, the legal department did not hear from him, at least Randy Adams, who I spoke with. And I was hoping that code enforcement was going to show up rather than a phone call and explain to him where it was in the code that's not allowed. And it's not specific to boards, it's specific to commercial activity. And that's the distinction. It's not about non-motorized watercraft. It's not about any of that. It has to do with everything with commercial activity. I let Mr. Adams know that it's important to understand that we have a vendor who pays a premium price to be there. Now, if that vendor slot ever comes open and Mr. Adams wants to bid on that, he's welcome to do so.
It's never gone up for bid, though.
It's renewable, so it has not yet. So the fact of it is, that's the way it
Another
is.
issue, I'm
And-
sorry to
and-
interrupt you, but it's another issue.
No, we're
that
not going
there's-
to talk about it here, Jake. What we're going to talk about is how you can get in touch with legal, and you can talk to my boss. That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
This is the wrong forum for this, as the commissioners already said. So to clarify for you, Mr. Commissioners, is what we did was I called him on the phone to ask him, because I was contacted by someone in the chamber. It was not one of my employees. I never told him it was an employee. What I told him was it was a contact. And I said it was one of my people. I didn't say it was an employee, and it was someone in the chamber's office, and I've got a picture of him giving a board to somebody on public lands. So we'll continue this conversation at a later date with our legal staff.
Any other questions for Jacob? Okay. Thank you for
Thank
bringing
you.
it to our attention. Thank you, Jacob. Okay, our next item is our one action item tonight, and it's the Brooks Seaplane lease agreement. Bill, I'll go ahead and read the staff report, then let you go ahead and follow up. The decision point tonight is whether to extend the Brooks Seaplane agreement. Brooks Seaplane has been leasing Bay 5 on the commercial dock for over 30 years. The rental amounts, as per these lease agreements, are increased each year based on the Consumer's Price Index. The first year of the lease is $4,670.24, payable as follows: $3,441.23 based on a monthly rental, $491.60 payable on April 1st, 2018 for the period of April 1st, 2018 through October 31st, 2018, and $67.48, which are the 2% fee assessed by the Department of Lands. The off-season rate of $1,229.01 is payable on or before November 1st, 2018 for the periods of November 1st, 2018 through March 31st, 2019, and the 2% Department of Lands fee of $24.10. Annual fee increases will be based on the Western CPI. Brooks Seaplane currently has a 2-year lease extension of this agreement for the periods from April 1st, 2020 to March 31st, 2022 by submitting to the city a written request for an extension after April 1st, 2019 and prior to December 1st, 2019. Section 3 of this agreement allows them to submit a written request for a 2-year extension on their lease. Again, the decision tonight is whether to extend the lease agreement with Brooks Seaplane. The report had a lot of dates and figures.
Sorry about that.
Tongue twister. Okay. Bill, you have anything to add to the report?
No, Grant's been a wonderful tenant. He is like all of our tenants. They're sort of our eyes and ears out there, and they also are ambassadors. He's been great to work with. I can't say enough good things about him. He pays his rent on time, and he provides a service that I think lots of people come from all around to take a flight over the lake.
Any questions or comments? Christie?
Well, well-known, does a fabulous job. My only question is, I don't see anybody else wanting to do this at all. Are there any other vendors that ever come forward for this purpose?
It's a pretty unique niche, I would say, and so, no, we've never had anybody approach us.
Okay, thank you.
It's a business that takes quite of investment and
Oh, yeah.
certification and things like that, so there probably isn't very many folks out there that provide that kind of service.
True.
It's also one, in my view, that we have to be very safety conscious, and we fortunately have an operator there that is very conscious of the other wide variety of activities that he
yes.
has to coordinate with there.
Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move that we extend the lease agreement with Brooks Seaplane.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Tate and seconded by Commissioner Lean to extend the lease agreement with Brooks Seaplane. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that moves forward to general services then, unanimously. Bill, when's the next general services meeting? Is this following Monday?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay, our next item is a informational presentation and update on the Canfield Mountain Trails. And Monty McCulley, our Trails Coordinator, is here to present. It's all yours.
Good evening. So I'm here to catch you up or remind you about Canfield Mountain Natural Area and the work we've done over the past 10 years and where we're going in the future with it. So this is part of an old presentation when I got it passed out of our Parks and Rec Master Plan. So some of the history of the open space, it was donated to the city in 2005. I believe it came from the Seventh Adventist Church. We had, I think, annexed that area into the city 8 or 9 years before that. There was some concern when the development came in about the hillside ordinance, because I think the original developer wanted to build on the hillside. The second time they came through in 2005, they gave us this natural open space. It was a no-brainer. The hillside was already there. It had already been being used by people for recreation for years: motorcycles, ATVs, four-wheelers, Jeeps, mountain bikes, hikers. The access to the natural area were three different roads that went pretty much straight up the hill. And so when they gave it to us, I think, when I first started in 2007, my predecessor came and we hiked through the brush and brambles, and there was no trails to really hike on. And we talked about the vision for a mountain bike hiking trail system that would connect to the Forest Service, the only one that the city has that allows mountain bikes. It was given to us for the purpose of non-motorized recreation. The motorcycles were accessing the greater Canfield area through that site, but before it belonged to the city. We spent a lot of time and effort trying to prevent them from going up on that site, and it took years. And we have signs directing them to Nettleton Gulch to show where the correct area is. Because what they've done to the hillside, the motorcycles, because there wasn't designated trails for them, it really tore up the hillside quite a bit. And the vegetation was torn up. The erosion made it even worse. And so we were just trying to eliminate that. Plus, we don't allow motorized vehicles in any of our parks. They had other access, so we didn't feel like we were taking that away from them, just our access point from the city. So I applied for a grant in 2007 to build the trail system up there. Did not get the grant. So for the next 3 years, I used volunteer labor, Boy Scouts, church groups, mountain bike groups. Anybody you could think of that wanted to work came, and we dug trails for 3 years. And we got a really nice set of trails up there. We estimate about 6,000 hours worth of volunteer labor went into building these trails. There's even some little bridges and cool little berms and stuff like that up there. So since that time, it's become really popular. The neighborhood has filled in around it. At the time we were donated the property, I believe there's only one house in the Copper Ridge subdivision. Since then, the houses, and then the recession happened and it didn't build for a long time. Eventually, the house is all built up. I believe there's only 1 or 2 spots left. One of them's under construction right now. The neighborhoods around filled in, Tubbs Hill's overfull. We have Fernan now that's people are starting to learn of, but Canfield has really grown in popularity. You go up there anytime and there's a ton of hikers up there, and there's a lot of mountain bikers. They lead to the Forest Service trails that are up above. There's 30 miles of trails up there. And there's a little gap property in between that belongs to Marvin Erickson, 50 acres, that is a private property barrier between our two, but we've been working with Erickson to get an easement between the two properties, so it's a legal trail system that goes between the two. And we've been working on that for several years. Hopefully that'll come in the next few years. We'll be able to get that agreement signed and get some more trails to connect it all. So there's some needed changes that need to happen up there. Since more hikers have come to the area and more mountain bikes are using that exit from the greater Canfield area, we've had some conflicts. There's people come flying down the hill, especially the scarred areas, the areas that aren't designated trails. When we built our trail system, we tried to close off those 3 original roads, and our trail system crosses them like 7 or 8 times. So there's really a lot of these really steep scars that mountain bikes can come flying down. And hikers love to hike those scars too. So I don't think anybody's been hurt yet, but it could happen. So we're trying to figure out a way to accommodate both users and make it a safe, fun park that people can use. So some of the ideas, we're closing undesignated trails, making the trail system a one-way system, where right now, the way the trail system is built, going up the left way you'd have to be a pretty expert mountain biker to get up that way. It's really steep. The right, with the help of some mountain bikers, we've tweaked it to make it so an intermediate mountain biker could actually ride up the hill. So we want to make it so mountain bikes go up one way, come down the other. Hikers can go whatever way they want, but that way they know what to expect. If you go left, you could have mountain bikers coming down. If you go right, they're coming up behind you, which usually means they're going slower than you're hiking. So you're pretty good there. We also want to close those scars and revegetate them. We have a plan for that. It involves a lot of silt fencing. So the idea is the silt fencing stops the erosion, and you can revegetate it, but you also want to stop hikers and mountain bikers from going through there. If there's one fence, they're going to say, I can climb that. If you put 5 fences, they're going to look at that and say, I might stay on the trail. So that's the thinking behind that. We want to increase the signage, get better signs up there. People get lost, even people who live in the neighborhoods. They get there and they don't know which trail goes where. Signage isn't great. And we need to put some fencing in it. And I have some pictures of some ideas of what the fencing would look like. So here's a map of the current trail system. You can see this is the trailhead area here. This is the neighborhood, Mountain Vista Drive. Currently, parking is only on the street in front of our property here, which tends to be a problem for some of the homeowners. The street gets kind of busy on the weekends. The trail comes up, and right now you can go either way. This is the steep side I was telling you about. This is the side that we're trying to guide people to go up on bikes. We've had some mountain bikes groups come in, and they've changed some trail areas to separate up and down. So we just need signs and some obstacles to put them in there to really separate the trail system. So this is the proposed one-way trail system. So you can see the mountain bikers have already built this. We've done we've taken out the area. See, right here it's all joined together. Here we separate it, where the people going up stay on one way, people going down go down the other way. And see, these are the scars we're telling you about that people really go bombing down those. And it's really fun, but we can't really have it all if we want to keep all the uses in the park. So this is the first approach. So some of the ideas for the signs, and there'll be a lot more than this. There'll be a sign at the bottom explaining the separation of the trails, uphill, right, downhill. We'll also have signs along the way on posts that tell you, hey, bikes go up this way, downhill this way. And all along the trail system we'll have signs like this. Plus, we'll also have wayfinding signs telling you main trail, private property don't go that way, or greater Canfield Mountain Trail area, that sort of thing. The fences, So up here to the left above it, you can see the scar that people really bombed down. The idea, and maybe not use this kind of fencing. We've had some people say that, it's pretty hard to see that, and if people are going down at twilight, they might hit that and hurt themselves. Maybe use a different kind of fencing. But the idea is to block it, put a fence at the bottom, put some silt fencing in between, and another fence at the top, and we'll try to reclaim these vegetated areas, areas that we've lost due to erosion. This is the next area. Down here is private property. These guys have it blocked off pretty good, but some fencing, I think, would help them to keep people out of the property, maybe even have some on the bottom side as well. This one is another old motorcycle trail that they love to come down. This is the new trail to the right that we made a lot easier to hike, mountain bike. So we'd put fences on either side. This is that big scar that goes up the top. These are a lot of them are the same road, but the trails crisscross them. Same here, we'd put fences all up and down the area to try to guide people where we want them to go. You can see we've tried to close this one off and build a big berm, and they just keep tearing it down. So we're hoping we'd put some little signs that say, revegetation area, please don't walk this way, to kind of appeal to their nature that, hey, we're not just trying to be jerks here, we have a reason why we're closing them down. And hopefully we'll get some compliance. And here's another one there. Got a lot of them. So the silt fences, this is what they look like. They don't have to be wood. We can use metal ones, I think, to drive into the ground a little further. They aren't all that pretty, but after a few years, once the landscape has been revegetated, we could pull those out. Once people start using the right trails, and you don't see it, right now it looks like a trail. People don't even know they're not trails. And so I might have gotten a little heavy with the silt fence dot here, but it gives you the idea. These are the areas where we need to put the silt fencing in between to try to guide them along the area we'd like them to go to. And that is it for my presentation. We do need money to do these things, so we're looking at funding sources, grants. We're looking at maybe doing a pilot project on one of the little scars that doesn't cost a lot, like the first one, that we could do out of my own budget to see how that works, and then maybe go for a grant for the whole thing and try to get it all done the following year. I believe you have a lot of people after me that are going to want to talk about this, so I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to them. But do you have any questions?
Monty, can you speak a little bit to the conflict between hikers and mountain bikers, and potential safety issues, both as you might be aware of them happening now, and what might be considerations in a future plan?
I'm not aware of, or I'm not sure if they happen on the actual trail system that we have designated. There might be there as well. But from what I've heard, most of them are happening on the scars, because they come flying down those scars pretty fast. You can get pretty fast on our trail system too, but not near as fast as going down those really steep scars, the old Jeep road on the road. So closing those would take them off of that really steep, dangerous area and put them on trails. And making it one way, I believe, would pull the mountain bikers and the hikers apart in a way that would make it safer. I haven't heard of anybody getting hurt yet. I just heard that people have been startled by a mountain bike coming down pretty fast and they didn't see them. I believe that proper etiquette is good too. If you're coming downhill, a lot of mountain bikers yell "bike, bike, bike" as they come around a corner. You say it a lot. You get in the habit of saying it, "bike, bike, bike." Somebody coming up here is going to hear that. They're going to step aside and let the mountain bike go by them. But if you're just coming out of nowhere on a well-used hiking trail system, you're going to hurt somebody eventually.
So what you're talking about, one-way trail system for bikes and kind of closing the undesignated trails, there really isn't any trail plan or master plan that actually separates the two uses, hikers and bikes.
Well, the photos I just showed you, they aren't really a master plan, but they are a plan that we have in place to do that, and we have already started separating the trails.
Okay.
So it is in a plan to do that, and we're just looking for the money to close the scars and to buy the signposts and create the signs, and so it is in a plan to separate them. or not separate hikers from the bikers, but separate the up from the down.
Any questions for Monty? There might be some questions that come up we'll need your help with, but why don't we go ahead and open it up then for public comment? Bill or Monty, do we have the sign-in sheet? Okay, kind of remind everybody, please state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes at the podium to present your comments. And we will start with Brad Gilbert.
I'm sorry, Commissioners, what happened was Monty was supposed to provide some photos.
Okay.
And he left them on his thumb drive on his desk, so he'll be back momentarily. And so this gentleman will come back when Monty has the photos.
Okay, shall we
Thank you.
just come back and then go on to the next on the list? Okay. Jeff Owens.
Thank you, Commissioners. I was actually here kind of to support Brad, so my comments were going to mostly stem from whatever he left behind, I was going to fill in. But while I'm here, and since we're waiting for photos, I'll just quickly, I'm a resident of the Copper Ridge subdivision. I'm also a fellow mountain biker, and so I feel like I'm kind of caught in between two worlds here. And I want to just say to Monty and everybody that's helped to create those trails, you know, from a homeowner looking out to that beautiful scenic area and to see all these people coming, volunteering their time to build trails, a trail that I can enjoy literally walking about, 500 feet from my front door. It's nice to see. It's nice to have. I don't want to lose those trails. And so I think hearing what Monty said about some of the ideas to help protect those trails, that's why I came. I came to listen to that. I think one thing that I wanted to emphasize is as I read the master plan, this was the 2012, it was entitled, it's the only thing I get my hands on, the 2012 Natural Open Space Management Plan. One of the items in there hits on something that I think, education signage. And I think that is something important I didn't see in Monty's presentation, but the first time I biked down the Totten's Pond Trail, there's some education signage at the top of that trail for mountain bikers. And it explained to me as a mountain biker that to a unwitting horseback rider and that unfortunate horse, I might look like a mountain lion as I'm screaming down that trail. I didn't know that before. So I think part of the issue that we're going to hear about today is education. It's educating hikers, and I think it's a lot of it's educating bikers too, to understand what are the dangers out there and be careful, look out for hikers. I think if we can all take care of each other, I think we can all live harmoniously together. That's my hope. But unfortunately, if that can't happen, then I think there's other options out there, and I know Mr. Gilbert will speak to those. So those are all the comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? No. Thank you.
Good comment.
Next, we'll have Don Crawford.
Hello, members of the committee. Didn't have much time to prepare for this. I just found out about this tonight, but wanted to come down and just voice my opinion. I grew up in Coeur d'Alene, lived here since 1984, and have used Canfield Mountain for hiking, mountain biking, and dirt bike riding. A lot of those trails up there were developed by dirt bikes originally. Mountain bikers have put a lot of work into those trail systems, and I think it's a multi-use area. There's been challenges in the past to find balances with that. But one of the things that comes to mind is he talks about a one-way trail system up higher on the mountain out of Nettleton Gulch. There's a couple of trails up there where there were some challenges in the past with multi-direction, and they went to a one-way system, and it's really worked well up there. You know, like I said, I'm up there on dirt bikes and mountain bikes, and, you know, it can be tough sometimes to navigate those things. So when you do have everybody going the same direction, it really helps. So I would be in support of that type of a plan. I agree with the previous speaker, signage is very important, and it does take a while to reprogram people to get them to understand that. But multi-use is a challenge. I think it's a mistake for one group to dictate and take control over trails. I mean, that's the beauty of living in Coeur d'Alene, is that we've got all these great things in our backyard, and I would just like to see mixed use on these trails. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. You have some pictures, I guess, Monty.
Yes.
Okay. Need a minute to catch your breath?
Didn't realize how fat I was till I tried to run. All right. So who were these for? Brad? You can just click this.
So how do I forward them?
You can, oops, you just click this button right here to go to the next one.
All right. Okay, good evening, honorable commissioners. My name's Brad Gilbert. I live at 2437 East Mountain Vista Drive, which puts me the third lot to the east of the trailhead, which you can see right here. And one of our neighbors and part of our team that's been working on this project did these, so you can see that it's really not landscaped very well, and it's not consistent with the CCNRs in our neighborhood. And we have requirements in our CCNRs to have nice landscaping. I don't know that the city can have irrigation or not, but this is the rock outcrop that I'll talk about a little later, and it is being ridden down by the mountain bikers and creating erosion, and it's unsightly in the neighborhood. There's another picture of the rock outcropping. And these we feel are a bit dangerous. If somebody accidentally rides into that, it would definitely be a serious injury. Okay, so I'm speaking for all the homeowners, so I hope you'll give me a little forbearance here so I can get through my comments. I'm going to read them because we spent a lot of time trying to organize it. Our understanding is it's Quest Development that developed our subdivision, and they had a vision for a subdivision on the base of the mountain and a gated community. So they worked with the city to get it all approved, and the city decided that they could not build up on the hillside, but instead had to keep the development at the base, which has been done. So there's this parcel of land above there that Quest Development donated to the city. And so I'll talk to that a little bit later as well. Because it was a gated community, the assumption was that the parking for the trailhead would be outside the community, and you will notice if you go there that there's a diagonal trail that goes from Shattuck Lane into our subdivision and points right at this trailhead to allow the public access. So our current situation is that we had an annual homeowners association meeting. The trailhead was on the agenda because of the number of issues. The issues that were raised at the meeting is the unsightly nature of it. To date, there's no designated parking for the trail. Users are parking on the street, creating congestion, and parking in front of residences. Also, there's a curve in the road. You can see it in this picture right there. And so when people are parked on both sides and there's the curve there, it's hard to see. And there's dogs, kids, bikes. It's quite a scene. It is popular. The existing trail network and natural area boundaries are confusing, poorly signed, and inconsistent with the map that Monty showed you at the trailhead. This could be cleared up eventually, like he said, with improved signage.
Brad, you're out of time, but I'm going to ask a question that'll give you kind of a brief spell here. But We had a brief discussion about, the trailhead and landscaping and kind of what it would look like briefly in workshop. Have you had any discussions with Bill or Monty specifically on the trailhead issue and the aesthetic of it?
Not really since then, although I've heard that Bill's talking about doing a little better job on the weed management there and maybe improving some of the aesthetics there.
We've not had a sit down, but Brad's correct. We can do a better job. This got away from us. And I was talking to Monty, at the trailhead itself, we can clean this up. We realigned some of those posts in there. The trailhead actually, the entrance to the trail system was to the right of this a little bit. There's a new home being built just in the foreground of this. So we've kind of adjusted that a little bit, and in doing that adjustment, we didn't do a very good job at cleaning that up. And there are two signs there that I told Monty I want to get a different kind of sign and have information on the back side, and the front side might be that map that he showed you guys. So we've been in some discussions about how we can make this look much better.
So I'd ask for a little more time, since I'm representing our homeowners association. Would that be all right?
Yeah, if you can sum it up as briefly as you can.
Okay. So this is important. The mountain bikes are traveling at high rates of speed on and off trails, creating an unsafe condition. Monty talked about that. And actually, there's a app called Strava, and average speed for some of the mountain bikers coming down is 22, with downhill rates higher than 30. And a lot of the mountain bikers are using this as their takeoff point to go into the private Erickson land that abuts the natural area, and then on into the national forest. So basically, our bottom line is we would ask the commission to consider asking the mountain bikers to use the national forest trailhead, which is approximately 2 miles by road from our trailhead, and make this small postage stamp of a natural area compared to the blimp of Canfield Mountain, just for hikers. The mountain bikers have parking over there. Like the gentleman said, there's one-way trails to make it safer, and there's over 30 miles of trail that they can access. So we're not asking to close off mountain biking on Canfield, just to make it safer for hikers, and the mountain bikers will still have plenty of opportunity. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to entertain them. I have a summary of all our comments here
Okay.
in our rationale. Should I give them to?
Yeah, you can give them to Melissa or to Bill, and they'll distribute it to us. Any questions for Brad?
One, Mr. Chair. Brad, your homeowners association wants to separate the mountain bikers from the hikers.
Correct.
Have you had any conversations with those two groups to see if they want to be separated?
We have talked with Rusty Bailey, who works with the mountain bikers and has been instrumental in a lot of the trail development there, and he's been working on the one-way system that Monty described to you. We understand that the mountain bikers don't really want to go away from there, but I feel like they still, and we feel, the homeowners, that they'll still have ample opportunity. If you're suggesting we should sit down and talk to them, we'd be happy to do so.
Well, I don't know about those kind of conversations, because this is the first I'm hearing of the issue. But Monty came up with a plan where everyone can kind of work together. Is that something your homeowners group has even talked about?
Yes, we talked about that with Rusty. We then found out about this meeting, and we wanted to share our concerns with the commission. We can work with Bill and Monty and whoever they think we should.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brad. Elmer Casil, did I pronounce that right? That's correct.
do. What's the date on that?
May 11th, 2009.
So May 11th, 2009, 60 volunteers show up to.
Excuse me, Elmer, just before you
Sorry.
start, I'll let you start over.
My name
but
is
yeah.
Elmer Casil, sorry. I live at 814 East Front. I am also the administrative end of the Lake City Trail Builders Association. We are a group of gentlemen who coordinate volunteer efforts. Sorry.
Time's up.
Volunteer efforts for, hopefully I have the same time as Mr. Gilbert, so I was watching, so it's not my first rodeo doing these. We coordinate volunteer efforts for the construction, advocacy, and maintenance of mountain bike trails. We have quietly built trails that you may have been on, the Blue Creek trails. We have provided technical advice to Monty McCully on the handicap reroute at Tubbs Hill, correct? We have worked on these trails. We helped redesign these trails in 2010 after their discussion with Monty about how steep they were and the non-sustainability of certain turns within that trail system. We have quietly done this for 10 years, stayed out of the limelight. We have also, related to this issue, quietly built the Blue Creek trails with the specific request of mitigating user conflicts. So this is not our first time addressing issues like this. For me, it's been 23 years of trail advocacy. I've mitigated user conflicts from Boise to Colville National Forest to Missoula, Montana. So that's a little background of the group of gentlemen I associate. We're not quite associated with Mr. Bailey, although we have worked with him before. So we've been working on this area since 2010. At that time, my son was 10 years old, and my stepdaughter was 3 years old. They were working on these trails. We do see eye to eye with Mr. Owens. There are mitigating things that can be done to address these issues without an out-and-out ban. We've talked to Mr. McCully about the installation of a split rail fence for higher visibility and better aesthetics. I believe the homeowners would appreciate that as far as designs. These kind of designs were implemented in Boise at the Table Rock Trails because, well, they had a couple $500,000+ homes there. They wanted that area to look nice. There are other design things that can be done with the trails to reduce speed and provide more visibility for both slow and fast users. We'd like these design measures and mitigating measures to be performed before we start considering moving mountain bikers away from the area. I want to point out a few things that Mr. McCully said earlier. This is the only trail system that the Parks and Rec Commission has that allows mountain bikes. The only one.
Okay. Go ahead and sum it up.
Yeah. Your own Trails Master Plan, the 2017, says, want to experience nature. They want non-motorized trail opportunities. And they want a little connectivity to the destination areas. The destination area is Canfield Mountain. This is one of three ways. You either drive all the way to Fernan, you could hop the fence over at Totten's place, not really a good call these days, or start here. So we'd like to help the city with these mitigating measures. We can do that. We've done it before. We have the ability to bring school children here and other volunteers. It's 6,000+ hours of volunteer, 10 years of time that we as a community of mountain bikers have spent on this property. We'd like to continue that. So we'd like to still provide Parks and Rec Commissions with technical design services. And we have all the equipment and the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Elmer?
Thank you.
Thank you. Rusty Bailey.
I will say that Al also helped us design the hiking only trail over on Fernand. I don't know if he knew it was hiking only when he helped us, but he helped anyway.
Great.
Thanks, Al. I'd just like to make a quick vote of thanks to Bill and Monty, who have been supporting us in the last 9 years, developing this trail and making it a real pretty place up there. And I'd like to thank all the mountain bikers who came in to show their support, and particularly the heroes who came up there with a pick and shovel in the heat, moved rocks, and helped to make the trails really work. Particularly for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been working closely with Monty and with Bill to address the problem of all of our wildlands here being loved to death as Coeur d'Alene gets discovered by people. And we really support the plans that Monty and Bill have come up with to mitigate this problem. What I would particularly like you all to think about is the Erickson land. And that came up there in Monty's presentation. If we could get that Erickson land, all these problems would go away. Plus, we'd have one of the most amazing recreation outdoor resources, certainly in the Panhandle, maybe in all of Idaho. To be able to go hike or mountain bike, trail run from Mont Vista Road area down there right up to the summit of Canfield Butte, that would be really something very, very special. Fantastic heritage. So please, please work hard on that. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Rusty?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the easement Rusty's talking about was something we were working with Mr. Erickson, like I mentioned earlier. We've gone as far as drawing up an agreement between lawyers. We just hasn't progressed from there. So we're still working on that, and hopefully it'll be an easement into perpetuity that even if they do end up developing up there in the county, we'd still have a mountain bike and hiking access, 2 of them, one up, one down through the Erickson property. He even offered to build it for us with his cat, but hasn't happened yet.
You declined that one?
Before.
Okay. Josh Adams.
See it for miles.
Good evening. Josh Adams. I live at 4403 North Huntercrest. And basically just want to reiterate what Don Crawford said. It looks like he left earlier, but I think it's just a matter of education. I mountain bike, hike, motorcycles, grew up riding motorcycles actually, and been using that trail before I ever have seen any homes there as well. So it is really nice. Don mentioned they have a 2-way system at Nettleton Gulch Trailhead, hikers, mountain bikers, motorcycles, and they've turned a couple of the trails at the bottom into a 1-way up and a 1-way down, which works really, really well. So if you're on a mountain bike or you're hiking, you know which trail you're coming up. You know motorcycles are going to be coming behind you, and if you're hiking down, you know that there's going to be fast-moving traffic coming down. So it actually works out really, really nice. But it is really, really nice to have a non-motorized designated park like we have here right in our little neighborhood. I don't live very far from the trailhead, and I bought my house there because of that trailhead, because we mountain bike and hike a lot. And that's where I take my son. That's where I take some of my friends that aren't expert mountain bikers so we don't have to deal with the motorcycles and all this stuff as well. So I think education is key, and it would be really, really sad to see one group try to eliminate another group. And it's a different situation too, because usually it's a hikers, mountain bikers, not a HOA, versus the 3 other groups. So I think with a little education and man, I'd come over and help clean it up, and so would the whole mountain biking community. And some of the scarring and things with a little more signage like you were talking about, and a few more of us getting educated and realizing that may be a problem, I think that can go a long way in the community as well. So I'd just love to see all uses be able to stay there and use it like we have been for years. Thanks.
Thank you, Josh. Willie Bartlett.
Hey there. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Willie Bartlett. I live at 128 North Street in Kellogg, Idaho. I'm also the manager for the bike park over at Silver Mountain, and just wanted to say a few things. I really do believe that no user group should trump any other. You know, we're lucky to have a bike facility that, you know, uses lifts and is built around going as fast as you can with no interruptions, but that's not normal. This area that you guys have is becoming, or that we all live in, is becoming nationally known for mountain biking. It's really just an awesome trail system that's up there, and this area in question is part of what makes it so special. With nearly year-round access, it's one of the very few places that mountain bikers can go ride in the winter. You can drive to Spokane or further out into the desert, but to be able to ride right out your back door is pretty unique. And it's a regional draw for cyclists from all over the place. I know I've seen a lot of friends here. We have people here from Spokane tonight. Everybody's just concerned about losing such a wonderful access point. And yeah, it's just a really unique experience. It's really easy family access for riders that aren't incredibly fit or really aggressive. It's just a nice little spot that you can go hit after work or kind of ease into the sport without really committing. And the rest of the trail system is fantastic in the kind of the Forest Service trail areas. And motorcyclists and bicyclists and hikers have all been coexisting there. It is a little intimidating for people to ride something they know there could be a motorcycle around the corner. More experienced bikers kind of understand how to mitigate that more. But again, having a nice, friendly environment down there is wonderful. And speaking as somebody who's regulated or working on regulating a trail system of our own, it can be challenging. You know, it's, especially if you're not participating in the sport, things that seem obvious may not from both ends of it. But a well-organized system is a huge asset to the community and to everybody who uses it. Also, parking at Canfield can be a real challenge. I know when I go up there for like Wednesday night rides, the parking lot and the road will be full to capacity, and you'll have to ride with traffic on the dirt road. So it can be a real challenge. And then the signage and the barriers and stuff that they're looking at and encouraging, I think are, you know, more signage is better. We've definitely, you know, spent a small fortune on signage at our bike park, but it really helps the user experience. And there are a lot of people that just want to go ride that have never done it before and maybe don't know trail etiquette, so education's a huge thing. And then I'm almost out of time. I'll wrap up real quick, but every group has some knuckleheads. There are people that go too fast. There are people that ride where they shouldn't. But I think if you guys, you know, fund the facility and take it seriously and help with signage and stuff, you know, kind of clean things up, people will take pride in what they have here and embrace it and really come out. I know all these people are really proud of having access to this stuff and want to keep building and improving the riding community here in Coeur d'Alene. So I just want to thank everybody for taking this seriously and taking your time here tonight. That's all.
Thank you, Willie. Next, is it Alex Costagano? No. Mispronounced the last name, didn't I?
Alex Castagno.
Costagno, okay.
Alex Castagno at 1415 East Davis Avenue in Coeur d'Alene. Thank you all for having this meeting tonight. Mountain biking in Coeur d'Alene, I think, is one of the fastest and largest growing recreation things to do, period. I mean, you look around the room, and it's pretty much full of mountain bikers. That doesn't mean that any other user can't use something. Doesn't mean that we can't work together. But really, in the end, I think that what everyone else has said tonight really kind of, you know, as far as signage, being courteous, just, you know, getting out there and revamping the whole system, closing off the things that are causing erosion. All that stuff can help everybody work together and just build a better community in Coeur d'Alene. You know, one thing I do have to ask from all the mountain bikers here is that we all be courteous. Let people be known when you're riding down the hill. You know, you ride fast sometimes, but you know, maybe go at times where it's just less trafficked, or just don't ride downhill over there. You know, if you got to ride uphill, go reach the rest of the system. But really, what it comes down to is just being courteous. You know, pay attention to what the people in front of you are doing, and know that you are going fast a lot of times, and we all do it. So, and then the other thing is that, you know, Monty mentioned something about fundraising. Well, I think everybody here, they showed up for this. Why not show up for a fundraiser to create new trails up there that are mountain bike only? So that's definitely something that I think that should really be considered out here, is just new trails. We can raise funds. There's people from every mountain bike community here in the area. So that's just, you know, one of the biggest things I think is that we could have our own trails by fundraising. So that's all. And I just got to, again, say thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. So that's all.
Thank you, Alex.
So I have to say, between the two Erickson parcels, that's 100 acres. They're only asking $4 million. So if anybody wants to donate, the easements might be a little better.
It's holding up the legalities of it, huh? Is the price tag? Okay, that completes my list of speakers. Is there anybody else that would like an opportunity to say something? Go ahead and approach and name and address, please.
My name is Don Sutherland, and I live at 5093 North Hague Court. I was the third home in the Copper Ridge area. So I moved there in July of '06. My son was one of the original builders there, so he worked with Quest Development and why the homes were built down in the lower part, because the mountain up above couldn't be built on. That's why it was donated originally to the city. But I think the thing is that I like the idea of the trails. The picture you see up here in front now, there's a home here now. And if you notice the green swells, those are maintained by the homeowners association. They're watered and paid for by us, so it looks nice. When you get to the mountain where you see the weeds going, and Larry's already mentioned that, they know they have to get out there and clean up some things, because it's just a rocky hill. Most of those rocky slides on that rocky hill are from kids. During the summer, kids have their parties up above. And they come down, and the smaller kids, the junior high and elementary, they come down those hills, and some of even the young kids that live in the community walk up those little trails. And that's how they get there. They're just rocks and they slide down. But I think the key is we can work together, because Coeur d'Alene is an area that, well, I refer to it as God's country. It's green, it's beautiful, and people are friendly that want to work together. The only area that I feel there's a real problem is with hikers. Hikers are going to have a hard time going one way, because it says to go one way, because a lot of them like to come up that trail that you have marked now to come down. And the biggest problem they have is that they walk that. Most of those people that walk that are the ones that own the homes right below the trail. And their property comes right up to the trail. And so my only concern I have, that trail is pretty narrow. And if you have bikes coming down that trail the way it's designed right now, and maybe that's where the volunteers need to come in, so we need to widen that a little bit more, so that if you're walking down that trail or walking up it, you can step aside. Because if you're walking, you have a little better chance to move aside for the biker to be able to come through. Because there's not much room for that biker on that trail, especially on the downside, close to the properties. And so I think by the volunteers in the area, from the bikers as well as from those that hike the trail and so forth, that we can get the city some help to be able to have that effort to do so. Because I think it's a community project. I'm against the motorcycle aspect of it, because we have to deal with the kids anyway going up the wrong way with them. And they really rip up those roads. But there needs to be a place for motorcycles too, because that is the recreation that we have in this area. So I kind of agree with all three, but I wanted to give you a little idea in reference to actually the homeowners there and so forth. And the parking there is really limited, and especially once that house gets into place. So people will be marking off their parking areas. And we have our own rules about what we can do as far as how many cars you can have and what you can have parked in the street. We, as homeowners, have agreed we don't park in the street. We have to park in our driveways. And so part of my job as being the treasurer of the homeowner association is to tell the people when they're not obeying the rules. And that's not a fun job sometimes. But we can work together. I know that for sure.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Real quick, I just wanted to say, I'm actually from Spokane, so I live at 614 South Holiday Road in Spokane. I'm part of Evergreen
Your
East
name?
Mountain
I'm
Bike
sorry
Alliance.
to interrupt. Your name?
Oh, Melissa McKelvey.
Okay.
And I am part of Evergreen East Mountain Bike Alliance. I do outreach over there, so we help develop all the trails over in the Spokane, the eastern Washington side of things. And just briefly, I just want to say that there's a lot of committed mountain bikers here that are really excited to work with the communities that are, that we want to work together. And absolutely, like some of the other people have reiterated, there's a lot of volunteer work that goes into maintaining trail systems. And there's a lot of people that care about maintaining, a good trail system, not just riding fast. They also want to see it be sustainable, and they want to keep the sport alive. So just something to kind of consider, because we absolutely want to make it work. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next. We'll take three more.
My name is Sarah Williams. I live at 4860 Cuprum Court, and I'm the Vice President of the Homeowners Association of Copper Ridge. I'd just like to say, I was one of the first people to move into this subdivision as well, and I've seen when the first trails went in, and I've seen the whole progress of this wonderful area. But over the last 3 or 4 years, the mountain bikers have increased in numbers exponentially. And I do agree with one of the other speakers who said that there are knuckleheads in every group. But when your group grows to a bigger number, you get a lot more knuckleheads. And I think that's where most of this problem is coming from. We're not out there trying to fight mountain bikers. I'm married to one. But this is just, we're trying to raise awareness that there is a problem. And it doesn't take many times of a mountain biker, flipping, or like going super fast past you when you're falling over trying to maintain your balance to get really bothered. And, the trail that is there, it's basically a single track. There's not very many places you can walk next to someone else. So having mountain bikers and hikers, it's really difficult to move over. But we are, I think we're willing to try to make this work, but I think mountain bikers need to realize that we're not out to get them, but they are part of the problem as well, because it does feel disrespectful. We have neighbors who, bikers are coming down that rock face and flipping around, skidding in their driveway. And that's behavior that's just, I just don't think that's respectful at all. So that's all as a homeowners association, we're looking for respect for our community, for what we've put into this, and for just for our ability to be outside and enjoy the reason we picked to live in that area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
May I ask
Christie?
Sarah?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for speaking, and so I'm a little confused because you're part of the HOA, but then the other gentleman that spoke with the photos is representing the HOA?
Yeah, at our meeting, there were some other homeowners who decided to take this project on and work on it on behalf of the whole homeowners association. So, so he worked on it with another couple, and he was the one who presented, but.
So I'm hearing two different messages. It sounds like you're willing to work together and not, both groups could live in harmony somehow through education repairs to the trails, some fencing, some signage, respect, and maybe that would work. But from the gentleman that spoke earlier, I'm sorry, I know you're out there somewhere.
Brad.
I forgot- No, the other one. Yeah, okay. His position was no mountain bikers at all. So I'm not sure where your group's at.
Well, I would say, I think, when we're in our meeting, it was, I think ideally, no mountain bikers would be great. But that was before hearing Mr. McCauley's different propositions about what kind of other options there are. So, it'd take probably another meeting to, or, I don't think we want to say absolutely no mountain bikers, but I would say that would be our first choice. We're not out to stop mountain biking, but we are out to make our community, our neighborhood, a safe, secure place where we feel comfortable, where people can go enjoy the trails and not feel like we're going to get run down and run off the mountain.
Well, and just speaking as one commissioner, they're all have their own opinions too, but the trails are for everyone, so I like the idea of everyone working together, and certainly the respect issue that you spoke of is very important. And there's a lot of mountain biking groups here that have talked about educating their members, talking to those knuckleheads, and maybe we can all live together. And so I would want to go that direction, and I hope you could take that back to your group, to all work together.
Yeah, well, and, I think it would be great if maybe we could have maybe a representative from our HOA be in closer contact with the Parks and Rec, so we know which groups are going up and when they're going to be changing the trailheads, because sometimes we just get cars up there and people working, and we don't know if it's through the city or if it's just they're doing work on their own, or, if it's sanctioned or anything. So I think a little more communication would be ideal.
So any work going on in the 24-acre parcel of ours is always sanctioned by us. Now, there's work going on above our property in Erickson's property that's not sanctioned even by Erickson. It's there's some dirt jumps and some wooden ramps that if it was on our property, we'd tear it down, but it's not on our property. It's in Erickson's. I think he has torn it down with a cat a couple times, but sometimes the line between our property and his property is kind of blurred. But whenever Rusty's up there, he usually posts it on the bulletin board down below. Just so you all know, I've been taking a lot of notes. I have some great ideas, widening the trail, putting a sign about trail etiquette, putting a sign about maybe parking. If it gets crowded down below and you're starting to park in front of houses, park at Shattuck Park or on Shattuck Lane. Moving the bulletin boards, making it look nice down there. A lot of that entry was hodgepodge together over time. So we put a rail fence in, and people kept going around it, so we put a fourth rail in, and they went around it, so we put a fifth rail in, and so that's why some of it's uneven, and some of it's rotted, and some of it's been fixed. So I'm glad this all came out, because we've got some attention drawn to it now. We can devote some resources and some time to make it look nice, feel nice, work nice. Now that the initial trail system is in, it'll be a lot easier to widen it than it would to build it initially. So.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, two more speakers, and we'll go ahead and wind up public comments.
Thank you. My name is David Pajeski. I live at 7080 North Mount Carroll Street. First of all, I want to apologize to anybody that's been harassed by knuckleheads. That's not the way the world should be. And I know there are some mountain bikers out there that can behave in a bad way sometimes, so that's unfortunate. But obviously there should be solutions to all these problems. I just want to contest, there was a statement made earlier that these trail systems are simply a launching point for the rest of the mountain. That's just not true. Where I live, a lot of people have busy schedules. We get to go out for short periods of time after work or whatever, especially as the days get shorter. I've got 3 kids, 5, 7, and 9, little mini mountain bikers, and where I live, this is a perfect little loop. This is the destination. So it's not a matter of using this to get up to Canfield. In fact, if I were to do that, to get up
to the upper part of Canfield, I would simply drive up Nettleton Gulch. That would be the preferred method. So this is definitely a destination. This is not a launching point. And it's a very nice one. It's very good for that skill set for those children. They don't have the lungs quite to pedal up to the lookout just yet, especially the 5-year-old. He does really good on this stuff, but not so much on the upper mountain. And I think that's crucial. What Almer said earlier about this being the only city park mountain bike trail, I think is another thing to remember, another thing to think about. I think we should build on it and not take it away. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Okay.
Excuse me. I'm Kim Gilbert, and I'm Brad Gilbert's wife. We live at 2437 East Mountain Vista Drive. And thank you, Monty. No, sorry, I was not prepared to speak, but my husband was not allowed to make a couple of points which I would like to address. And we are 30-year residents of Coeur d'Alene. I am a bicyclist myself, even though I'm old, and a lot of the crowd here appears to be young, and I'm glad that they're able to enjoy the opportunities that Coeur d'Alene provides. We have enjoyed them as well. I have ridden my bike around Lake Coeur d'Alene and over several mountain passes in Colorado, and I think my husband and I single-handedly helped build a part of the new Trek shop on 4th Street. So we do care about bicycling. One of the things that hasn't been addressed in my perspective, and I am really grateful how courteous everybody's been, and how I think it was Alex with a complicated last name who asked bicyclists to be courteous. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned when I unwittingly raised my hand to help with this project, that we built our dream house in this neighborhood, and for other people going on the Canfield Trail is a dream. In the park system of Coeur d'Alene, this park is 24 acres, and Cherry Hill Park, which you can clearly see as a rectangle, is 30. So it's a tiny little piece of land. We have people trespassing on our property because it's unclear where the boundaries are. And I would respectfully ask that it be considered that there might be signage that says, please enjoy Canfield Mountain, but be respectful of the neighbors who have provided this area for your use and pleasure. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. Did I miss one over here? Is that everybody? Okay.
I thank you for allowing everyone to have their piece. My name is Mike Fuller. I live at 1507 Fairmont Loop in Coeur d'Alene. I do serve on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee for the City of Coeur d'Alene, and I'm not speaking for them as a committee, but I'm speaking for myself, just to say the input from mountain bikers at our group meetings would be appreciated. A lot of you folks and homeowners have issues with these things. Monty right now is carrying the ball for the mountain bikers in the community. We deal with a lot of road biking issues, trails, and that sort of thing. We have our knuckleheads that we can't seem to get through for their own safety, that they don't ride the wrong way on traffic. And when we've got our challenges too. But I encourage mountain bikers to attend our meeting. Possibly we could help and support you in your endeavors. It is part of the master bike plan that we recently was adopted by the city, and we want to see everyone live harmoniously, just like we do when we're talking to people about building bike lanes in their community, down the streets, and parking issues. And we have a lot of communication that we need to do, and we have our share fair and knuckleheads too, so you're not in this alone. But come to our meetings, mountain bikers, and have your concerns heard, and we can work with you and with the homeowners too in your endeavor. Right now, Monty's your biggest advocate, and he's the one that carries the ball, and we certainly would appreciate any input anyone has for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So, Monty, you mentioned kind of moving forward, there's design development of this trail plan as well as looking for funding sources. What are some of the next steps?
So the next step, in my mind, and Bill can correct me if I'm wrong, or will correct me if I'm wrong, is to start with the trailhead, fix it up. We could do that fairly quickly, probably in the next couple weeks. After that would be to start working on signage and then select probably the first little scar, just the first section of one, and start putting silt fencing in to try to block that off as a pilot while we're looking for funding to pay for the rest of it.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone here tonight and participating with us today. This is good information for us, and I would encourage everyone in their advocacy to kind of stay involved with the process as this moves forward. And Monty, I think it'd be a great idea in our future meetings if you or Bill can just kind of keep us updated on how this is going.
Yeah, and anybody who wants to get in contact with me through email or phone through the City of Coeur d'Alene website, I believe our main web address is info@cdaparks.org, and my personal one is, my personal work one is mmccully, MMCCULLY, @cdaid.org. If you guys watch this show later on Coeur d'Alene TV, I'm sure that Jeff will flash it on the screen for us.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or?
Yeah, I guess I would offer one thing. From my perspective, I really appreciate the harmonious nature of the discord today. I, for one, would like to see the cooperative effort given a first chance. And by the nature of the communication tonight, I think that really stands a pretty good chance. I think the respectful nature for the owners in the neighborhood would go a long way for the mountain bike community. And by the same token, maybe a little understanding from the owners in the neighborhood of the mountain biking activity. And, you know, walk a mile in each other's shoes or ride a mile in each other's shoes, so to speak. But certainly give that a chance first. Let's see what we can do to widen trails, better signage, education. Those all seem like very good first steps to me. And I would certainly encourage you all to give it a little time, and certainly for the mountain bike community, try to police yourselves. I think you've got enough folks here that you can spread the word. I think that that is the key component to mitigating some of the big concerns that the neighbors have expressed.
I know when the city inherited this 24 acres of open space, the historical uses that have been up on the hill with motorbiking, mountain biking, and hikers was, the management of all that was going to be a big challenge. And I think that's, the management of that is something that's going to kind of continue to grow and evolve as we move forward. So it has its challenges. Anybody else? Okay. Thanks again for participating with us tonight. I just have a couple of meeting announcements, unless anybody else has any other comments tonight. Our next Park and Rec workshop will be Tuesday, August 1st, 11:30 a.m. at Crusoe's Deli here in Coeur d'Alene. And then our next regular Monday evening meeting will be August 14th, 5:30, right here in the library community room. And so with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Wood and seconded by Commissioner McDowell to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you all for coming.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.